Hi friends, welcome to ARC Tutorials. In today's tutorial, we will learn all about Angular CLI. This is a tutorial series for absolute beginners, people who are new to Angular, people who are new to CLI. You can learn everything about Angular CLI in just 15 minutes. That's right, 15 minutes is all you need to master Angular CLI and prepare your Angular application using Angular command line interface. This is part of Angular full tutorial series where we are developing apps using live examples. At any point, if you have any queries or questions, doubts, feel free to ask me in the comment section below, and I will be happy to provide you with free help and advice. Before we proceed, I request you friends kindly subscribe to my channel to keep supporting and encouraging me so I can bring you more useful tutorials. Thank you in advance. Let's get started. All right, so all about Angular CLI commands. So I have listed down all the important commands that we need to run our Angular applications using Angular CLI. The first step is to do npm install @Angular CLI. This would install the Angular CLI in our local repo in the folder. And then we will walk through each of these commands, which is checking the version, generating new project, and then generating command services, linting, running our application, building our application, testing it, and also finally checking the documentation help. Let's get started. So here I have an empty folder that I've created project for, and I will show you from scratch. So first command is to install the Angular CLI, which we will do using npm install @Angular/CLI. This is the command you will run to install the Angular CLI in your local folder. This is the first step. Now this may take a couple of minutes, so it takes 1 or 2 minutes, so have patience. At the same time, you can feel free to subscribe to my channel in the meanwhile. All right, so this will install all the dependency libraries, modules that we need to run Angular CLI in our local, including the node modules, which we can see here. So it is created the node modules, and now it has installed the Angular CLI. All right. Beautiful. So far, so good. So now that we have installed Angular CLI, let's go back. Now, once we have installed the using npm install, the next step we can do is check the version. So we can run the command. Now you will not run npm. Instead, we will run ng, which is stands for Angular. So now we can write ng ---- version. So this should give you the version details of what Angular version you're running. And you can see here Angular CLI. Angular CLI version is 8.3, Node is 12, OS is Windows 64, and these are the packages that it has installed. Beautiful. So that covers our second command. Now we are going to generate a brand new project. So let's call it ng new. That's how you generate new projects. So here let's call it resume. So let's say we are building a resume builder. So give ng, that is Angular new project name. Now it would ask you few options like, would you like to add Angular routing? Yes. What kind of style sheet do you want to use? I'm sticking with basic CSS. So you see Angular CLI will auto generate all the required files, packages, folder structure, and initial base components. That's your app component. It will also generate a routing module, and it would generate a app module. So these are all the required files for you to run any new Angular project. And the same you can see here under resume. So when you expand, you can see the new application folder structure getting created. It is still running and installing some of the dependencies. So this is how we can generate our new Angular applications using Angular CLI. So the command we did was ng new followed by the app project name or the application name that you want to give. That's number 3. We'll give it a minute to complete this process to install all the dependencies. If you're doing practical along with me, make sure it gets completed and you can go back and follow each step by step, and you should be mastering Angular CLI in less than 15 minutes. All right, so this step may take a little while. Uh, have patience. It's not complicated. It's absolutely simple. It's the NPM which is doing all the job, not us. So don't worry. You must be wondering there are so many packages to install, but that's all right because these are all simple libraries and modules which are used to build. It's almost done. Just let's give a couple of more seconds. All right, so you can see here successfully initialize Git and our project is ready. Beautiful. All right, so we have done ng new project name and we gave resume. So that's where it generated the new project repository, which has all the folder structure, app, routing, environments, package.json, node modules, E2E folder, which has end-to-end scripts. So this is how we generate our new project. Now let's go use the next command, which is ng generate. So using ng generate CLI command, we can generate a lot of things. For example, we can generate components. So let's generate a component. Let's call it users. Or for now, first thing we should generate is a module. Ng generate module. Module name is users. So okay, so first we need to be inside the project, and then we will run the same command ng generate module users. So now we can see there is a new users module that's created. So I'm going to pull it back to source level here, which is at users. Now this is a module. Now inside this module, I can generate a lot of other required components. So inside resume, we have source and then we have users. So now we are in users. So now I'm going to say ng generate component and I'm saying register. So I'm building a component for registration screen. Similarly, I'm building a component for login. So you see the ng generate command, you can write ng generate or you can write ngg. That's a shortcut. Similarly, you can also write a shortcut ng generate c, which means ng generate component. So here I will say forgot. So this is for forgot password. So you see Angular CLI is actually generating code for us. It is generating the required files in the correct structure. It's also generating and updating the module file along with it. A quick look at the module, you can see users.module file, and you can see that it has got all the details that we want to have it. It has imported all the components already. All right, so far so good. So we have seen the ng generate component, we have seen ng generate module. Similarly, we can write ng generate service, and I'm saying user service. So see, now it has generated a user service file. Similarly, we can generate ng generate pipe. I'll say highlight users. And this pipe will use to highlight certain users when the user is logged in, or maybe username we can highlight. Similarly, I can generate a directive and call it premium users. Premium user. So this directive will be used to check if the user is a premium user. So similarly, so on and so forth, we have seen that we can use ng generate to generate a lot of things. We can generate module, we can generate component, we can generate service, we can generate pipe, we can generate directive, we can generate route guard, we can generate routes, we can generate class, we can generate interface. I'll just quickly show you one last thing before we jump into other commands. Ng generate interface, I'm saying user. So now this will generate a interface class for us. See, source users user. So that's how it generates an interface class for us. We can use Angular CLI, very powerful, to auto generate all the code and required modules, pieces, building blocks of our application using the Angular generate command. Give it a try. Try all of this hands-on practical to learn better. Let's move on to the next. So once you have generated all the components, you start building your application. You want to make sure that your application is following certain rules, coding standards. That's where the linting comes into picture. So if you see here, it's highlighting and saying an empty interface is equivalent to empty object, right? Because there is a linting issue. So let's run that and see. So to check coding standards, you can see type ng lint. Now you see here yellow line, that means there is some linting issues. So when you run this, so it will lint the entire project and give you the code feedback on what are the best practices. You can see here it said that error, an empty interface is equal to lint errors found. So I'm going to put an object and I'm going to say first name string. Now again I'm going to run the same lint. Now we should not see that error. So whenever we build our project, it's important to run nglint to make sure that there are no coding bad practices, there are no linting issues. So you can see here all files pass linting. So this way we can use nglint to make sure that our code and our project code files are following coding standards and patterns. All right, so far so good. Now the next command we learn is ngserve. So to we have built our application. Now we want to run our application. To run our Angular application, we will just say ngserve. Ngserve will run the project at default port 4200. All right, so it's compiling first and then transpiling because all the code is written in TypeScript. So you see it generates these files. These are the files that it has generated, and it is saying that our browser is listening at localhost 4200. This is the YouTube channel we have, friends. Please do subscribe. All right, so there we are. We have our default, our Angular application page up and running, which means this we just learned how to run our application. So the command to run our Angular application is ngserve. So if you see, friends, we have executed this at 4200 port. You can change the port number by passing parameter and say ngserve hyphen hyphen port equal to 5200 or any port number as long as it is not in use. Again, now it will compile, it will build, and then start generating our application and start listening at localhost 5200. So you see here now it is listening at localhost 5200. So I'm going to change this to 5200 and see now our application is running on port 5200. Nothing changes. So that's how we run our application. But in production environment, we want to specify it with an option to say prod equal to hyphen hyphen prod will run it in production mode. So that is more about minification, uglification of the files, compressing it, optimizing it ahead of time, lazy loading. We'll learn all of that. but just know that to run in prod, we'll run ngserve ---- prod. All right. So the next command we'll learn is ngtest. Now we have our test files here. You can see that all those files ending with .spec.ts are the ones that are our testing files. So to run unit test files, we will type ng test. That is the command to execute all the unit test scripts in Angular application. All right, so it will open Karma runner and execute all our unit test scripts and provide the output. We can see here. So all the unit scripts are written in Jasmine and it is executed using Karma. So we see here, this is all the unit scripts are passing. So we'll close it. All right. So to execute, the command is ng test. Now similarly, if we want to execute all the end-to-end scripts which are under the folder E2E here under source specs, these are all end-to-end scripts. So now we will run ng E2E. Right. So once we have seen that, so now it has compiled successfully and it is now running. So it will run and show you the report right here. You can see it says should display welcome message, executed 1 out of 1, success. So that's how you run ng E2E. The last command that we use is to build our applications. We will use a command which says ng build. Ng build is used to build our Angular application. So we need to compile the application and have the TypeScript converted into JavaScript. That is what ng build does. So to compile your application so that it can be deployed, we need to run the command ng build. So once you do that, it will create an output directory and we should be able to see our output. Let's just give it a minute. All right, so now we can see there is a new dist folder where it has generated all the JavaScript files required to run our application. So that is how you take any output of Angular application and deploy it. Usually this will be done as part of in your pipeline, either in AWS or Azure or in your code. So we can see all the files are now generated and are ready to be deployed into our environment. So the command to build the Angular application is ng build. The last command that I want to share about CLI is ng help. At any point, if you need any help or more information, just type ng -help. So this should start showing you help about anything that you want. So I'm going to say ng generate help. So this will give you help about the generate. So you can see here, it says that ng generate will help you generate and modify files based on schematic. So these are all the available options that you can use to generate using ng generate. You can generate directive. We have seen that. We have seen module. We have seen service. We have seen pipe. So you can generate all of this using ng generate. Now, similarly, if you want help about ng, say build, just type --help, and it would give you all the options that you want to run with help of ng build. So we saw this --prod option. So similarly, you can type any ng command and just in front of it just add hyphen hyphen help, and you should be able to get the clear documentation on Angular CLI. Those are all the important commands that you need to know about Angular CLI. Before I close this tutorial, I'll give you one additional extra tip and help, which is you should go to angular.json file. That is where you have all the CLI things defined. So you can go through this command. You can see that you define your styles, your scripts. We can define what kind of application it is, what is the prefix that we want to add, etc. So go through this. This is an additional advanced thing, but for now, that is just something that I wanted to share with you, that you should check it out, angular.json file. That was all about that Angular CLI that we want to cover in this tutorial. Do practice all of these commands by going through the video. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will help you for free advice. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you like this video and you will subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.